Welcome to Business Success Tips, where you learn to make more money in less time and have a lot more fun. My name is Paul Sanneman. I'm founder of Contractor Staffing Source, where we help contractors build great teams. My guest this morning is Aiden Smith from Paint Pro Coaching. So, good morning, Aiden. So, tell me, how did you get into coaching? Just curious.
Yeah, morning. Thanks for having me on. I got into coaching probably 2 years ago. Saw a ad from a coach and he said, I can help you make money online and teaching people what you know. So I knew painting, so I'm like, all right, sign me up.
Okay. So, most small contractors have the same problem. What are the issues you see the contractors you work with? What are they doing right and what are they doing wrong in general?
Yeah. I think lack of planning is probably number one. Um, they kind of get into it and they try and sprint to the finish line or don't even know where they're going, right? They just know, hey, I need to try and make money or start this business with not really, a game plan. And they run into a lot of issues, because they only know what they know.
Okay, so I have a question for you. I was a coach, I've been a coach for many years. Um, how do you help, uh, I'm going to call a craftsperson, i.e. a painter, make the transition between being a painter and being an entrepreneur?
Yeah. That's the biggest hurdle, right? Because a lot of time, especially in the trades, like these guys are stuck in their own way, they are attached to trying to do the craft at the highest level possible. And a lot of times it's inefficient for the business, right? We found that the client doesn't necessarily need the perfect paint job. They need you to be a 8.5 out of 10 on the quality scale and a 9 out of 10 on the customer service side, and you'll get a 5-star review almost every single time if you just do that.
Okay. So what you're saying is a lot of the painters are a little bit too much perfectionist because the they may see all the teeny weeny little flaws, but the client's never gonna, right?
Yeah, I mean, depending on the work you do, right? If you're doing something like, I don't know, a ZK painting type job where it's like industrial finishes, automotive finishes on residential homes, that's a different story, right? You kind of have to be a top tier craftsman. But for, I would say, 95% plus of contractors out there, yeah, don't overstress the quality of work. The technology alone and a lot of the materials out there for the jobs will do half the battle for you.
Okay. How do you have them improve their customer service?
Communication is at the top of the list. We try and teach also on business acumen. I think that's important, right? Just knowing what to say, when to say it, what tonality to have, how to be professional, right? Like there's so many contractors out there that don't capitalize certain words when they're, sending emails or responding to text. Those little things matter and people see that. Or like simple things as having an at Gmail when it comes to your company email, right? Those are the things that separate a professional from kind of like chucking a truck, right? So
Right.
just those little things for sure go a long way.
How do you feel about like having wrap trucks and that kind of stuff? You think that's important?
I do. I think that's what's going to allow you to land the job for 10% more than the next guy, right? And come in a little bit higher, right? Because if you're working with us, right, you're probably one of the more premium contractors trying to be at that higher price point, right? Not always, but usually the case. You're one of the higher bids. You need to separate yourself, right? I mean, you need to show up with the polo like I have right now with the logo and clearly outlined professional, right? Attire that goes along with your vehicles as well, your website. Perception is reality, and the more you invest in that, the more you separate yourself and raise your standard.
Well, how do you help somebody who's starting a business or just quit his boss build a brand from scratch?
Yeah. I mean, all starts with like the vision, right? What are you looking to have done and what are you looking to portray to your ideal client? And we kind of look around at what's been working and how can you take that and put your own spin on it, right? So if you look at other people, high-end logos, like there's a guy out there, his name's Russell Peach. He has one of the better, I'd say, marketing and branding that you have in the painting industry. peach painting. It's a big peach. Everything's orange, right? So it's that remembrance factor. It is the when you look at it, right? It's like it looks professional throughout. And am I going on a tangent here? I think I
No, it's fine.
derailed from
Because
there.
I want to help the people watch this podcast. A lot of people don't know how to build a brand. You
Yeah,
know, they have their nephew or somebody come up with a logo, they throw it on their website, and
right.
they got the logo. The logo's like 8 years old. And they thought, well, I just have to do a good job. I don't have to build a brand.
Yeah.
And so building a brand takes time, energy, and money. And a lot of these people don't know how to do it. So I'm just saying, what steps do you help a painter take to build a brand in the community?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it starts with, the look of yourself, right? The representation, but yeah, I mean, really just building the brand in the community is raising awareness that we are the top quality, and that starts with how you look. It's the perception, right?
Okay.
It's the uniformity across the board. If you're showing up with yellow and black, I got to see it on your website, got to see it on your wrapped vehicles, right? So that way I know that this is who I'm dealing with through and through, and they probably have uniformity through the company as far as their processes, but it starts with the perception of how you look.
How do you help painters get new clients? Do you use Google, use SEO,
Yeah.
knock on doors and neighborhoods? What have you found that works as far as getting new business?
So it depends, right? Somebody that's just starting out, right? They're gonna have probably a little bit more legwork to do, right? Little sweat equity, shaking hands, going to networking events, kind of just meeting people. But if you're a little bit more established or you have some investment that you can put on the table as far as, cash, then we could talk about marketing channels, right? Facebook, Google are probably the top two that we see yield the best results.
Hmm.
Then you go into lead buying services to kind of diversify and you try and find the best one that works for your area. I have guys crushing it on Angie. I have guys crushing it on Yelp. It all depends what works in your area.
Okay. So how do you do the research to find that out?
Yeah, so testing is the biggest thing, And this isn't oh, you try 1 month, it didn't work. This is 3 to 6 months of testing, seeing what works. Also, there's other factors. Some platforms work better depending on your reviews that you have, right? You kind of have to build that up first before you can start seeing consistent results. So, how flexible is that platform to get away with not having reviews early on if you're just starting? Um, but if you're more established and you, like I said, you have that brand and that perception, it's a little bit easier to get results, right? Because you look the part already.
So how do you suggest people go about getting reviews?
Every single job, you need to be obviously doing great work, but asking and following up, like have that a part of your process, right? Every single time I send an invoice, right after we ask for the review. Hey, it really helps us out. Incentivize the guys. There's something that you can do. You can pay a bonus to your guys if they get mentioned on the review, which creates a little bit more of that trust factor with the client because if they know their name, they're probably doing a great job, right? But also it gives them credit for, hey, doing a great job and everything everything good comes out of a good review, right? Long term, the perception of your company, but also actual SEO works in your favor when you get more reviews.
Okay. Can you give me, you have to give me the name of the company, but some company you've worked with that like a success story for you and what you did to help them get better?
Yeah, so I have a guy who has been in the painting industry since 1999. His name's Ben Nading. He's out of Iowa. And he was doing probably 6 to 700,000 a year for maybe 10 years, maybe a little less. And when you're doing business at that level stagnantly for so many years, not much is changing, right? The guys that have been
Right.
there, it's like 8 years, we're not growing, nothing's happening, I'm not getting promoted. They start to check out a little bit. Just another day at the office. So he felt that, and he himself felt that as well, and was looking, what else can I do besides this painting business? It's been like this forever. I don't see anything changing until he found our videos, found us, got on with our company, and we coached him up, and now he's doing 200K months, roughly on pace for like 1.5 million, 2 million. So doing
What
really
made the
well.
difference? What made the difference in his case?
Yeah, the difference was the change of doing things, right? He had been doing the same thing for 8 straight years, 8 to 10 straight years, right? The same processes, the same ways. And he finally found, hey, let me see what else other people are doing to scale and to grow. And we kind of breathed new life into his business with new strategies, new ways of getting jobs, new management practices, that kind of thing.
Can you give me some specifics that you did with him that people might be able to do for themselves?
Yeah, more of a game plan on marketing and what to spend on, how to get the best results, what numbers to look at, right? If I know I can put $1 in and get $10 back, I can just do that every single time and spend a little bit more and I'd get more money in return.
Mhm.
So he didn't think that way. And when we broke it down for him and put it on a spreadsheet, it made a lot more sense. And it was able to, I was able to raise his risk tolerance, if that makes sense.
Okay. So I'm assuming he didn't have a marketing budget before he worked with you, right?
Very little. He'd
Okay.
done Angie and that was really it.
So what did you change his marketing budget to and how did it work? Give me some numbers if you can.
Yeah, we try and stay depending on where you're at, right? If you're growing, I can see somebody going up to 12, 15% marketing, right? Because there's a compound
Okay.
effect. What happens is once you start spending, you start to get new relationships as well. So yes, you could get one lead from that company, but that could turn into three different leads. So if we're trying to be aggressive and grow, we need to spend a little more. But once you kind of maintain, okay, I'm starting to get consistent results and everything's working, we can dial that back and still get similar results.
To what, like 8 or 10% or something?
Yeah, I'd say seven's like the sweet spot, but yeah, between 7 and 10%.
Okay.
If we can see that across the board, we're good.
Okay, and what ROI can you expect on let's say you're doing, pick a number, $1 million a year, you're spending 70,000 on marketing. Um, what kind of results can you expect of that as far as cost per lead or rate of return on investment? What would you want to see back from the 70,000 you spend?
10x. I mean, you'd want to 10x anything marketing wise, like 10x is like the magic number. If I can spend $1,000, I want to make 10,000 on those
Okay.
on that marketing spend. That's how I judge a good marketing company because the numbers once you start to get under 10x, it starts to get a little bit tight, especially if you're not doing great gross margin, which is, after supplies and paying your guys.
What do you normally look for a painter doing gross margin?
Yeah. Depending on the model they're running, we're comfortable anywhere between 45% and like 65%.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about net margin?
Net margin usually roughly 18 to 25%.
Okay. So
You could throw
therefore,
in a salary or not, but yeah.
if you spend like $1,000 and you get 10,000 back, technically you get at least 2,000 in your pocket, give or take, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so that means you get 100% rate of return on the money you spend.
Yep. If I have $1 million business, I'm taking home 200K and I feel good about it. But ideally, it's systemized to the point where you're not doing much either as well.
Right. So how do you get these guys to work on their business and not in their business?
That's one of the hardest transitions because even when we get that to happen, and I'll get with the specifics in a second, but they feel anxious because it's like I've always been working on the front lines, doing something every second of the day. Now I have some time back and I feel like, what do I do with my life? Right. But those are the best calls because I know everything we're doing is working. Um,
Mhm.
Really, it's a change of mindset, number one, right? I recommend a book called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell, and it's about delegation and realizing that the effort you're putting into your company is worth than that you being a 25 an hour painter, right? Or a
Right.
contractor in your business. You have to look at your business from a high level and start to delegate the tasks like the work, like managing the work, like selling the work, answering the
Right.
phones every day. Those are tasks that can be 15 an hour, right? Where you have to do tasks that are 100, 150, 200 an hour to make
Right.
sense of the company.
Well, I know when I was coaching, I worked with this one guy. I never forget. I was sitting in his living room and we were doing a business plan and working on marketing, some of that kind of stuff. And I said, "You don't really value what we're doing here." And he goes, "Bullshit. I took off work to do this."
Right. Yeah.
So he didn't
And
understand that was best use of his time. If he wasn't out there swinging a hammer, he wasn't working.
yeah, no, exactly. And there's also like opportunity costs, right? What are you, what is, what is not happening because you're too busy swinging the hammer,
Yeah.
right?
When
You
a
got to think of
loss
it like
opportunity
that.
cost is hard to fix. I know when I work with contractors, I mean, I convince a lot of people like visit architects, and I can show you how business development pays an average of $2,000 to $3,000 an hour if you'll do it, right? But
Hmm.
unfortunately, for a lot of these guys, it's the delayed gratification. It doesn't happen like they're used to something happening immediately.
Very true.
So if they spend some time in something and they don't see an immediate result, they go, well, I worked on marketing yesterday. I don't see any sales yet.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're used to it. I mean, it's been years and they know that, okay, I got the job done Friday, I get paid Friday, keep it pushing.
Right. They have a very
Um,
short, I'm gonna call it, horizon on what happens. Like, they're used to immediate gratification, and for them
mhm.
to learn delayed gratification is a challenge, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Mindset is one of the most important things, right? Because even when I'm recommending like events to go to, right, and I know it will be game changer for them and they'll get a lot from it, they question, well, what am I going to learn? Well, what are the new, like, what things am I going to take away from it? It's like, that's why you have to go and
Go to
figure that
find
out
it.
for
I know
yourself.
I used to listen to Jim Rohn a lot, he's passed now, but he used to say you gotta work harder on yourself than you do on your business.
Mm, yeah,
And
because the business will only go as far as the leader goes.
right. And so, but a lot of people don't see working on themselves as improving the business because
Hmm.
especially if you're the owner of the business, you can't get better than you.
Yeah, I think people look down on business owners that have free time as well and that are allowed to do things that they want to do. Like I frequently golf, right? Not that I'm any good, but I like to golf. I like to get out there. I'm in Florida, and
Mhm.
a lot of comments if I post videos will be like, "How do you have these businesses? How are you growing a business? Your guys are probably on the job working, blah blah blah." And I'm like, I get to set this up and dial in my calendar and have these businesses to do these things. That's
Right.
the
I mean,
reverse of it.
I think that's true. What happened is if you have the tradesman mentality, it's 40 hours a week for 40 hours pay. And an entrepreneur can spend 3 hours and be paid for 5 years if it's the right 3 hours.
Exactly.
So it's
Yes,
a different
exactly.
mindset. So
Also, I really believe that business happens in seasons, right? One season might be setting a lot of the framework up, and maybe you're doing 60 hours, 80 hours a week, right? And then once you get it all set up and you put the right people in place, now that goes down to 10 hours a week. But it's because you put in that front end and game plan so much to have that on the back end.
right, that's true. Well, Aiden, if people want to learn more about your company or about you and possibly consider your coaching services, how do they do that?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook or Instagram. It's called the Pink Pro Coaching. DM us. We're always available talking to people. And even if it's not the greatest fit in the world, at least you kind of get some insight. We're always willing to help people out.
Okay, great, Aiden. Well, thank you for your time. This is good insight. And if you have a painting company, and I would say he's the guy. The other thing is, the stuff we mentioned today applies to all businesses, not just painting companies. If
Exactly.
you can't make that transition from a tradesperson to an entrepreneur, and I always say people's greatest skill as an owner is the ability to build a team. And if I look at Elon, people like Elon Musk, he's a really smart guy, but his key to success, he knows how to build teams.
Exactly. And hold them accountable as
Hold
well
accountable.
for
So
production.
you'd say your biggest skill as an owner is learn how to build a team and hold them accountable. That will do better than anything else. Not no matter what business you're in, it's a primary skill.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay. Thanks, Aiden. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Paul.